Gorgeous, wonderful souls, welcome to another episode of our Heart and Soul show. Today we are talking about overthinking. Are you making decisions like this, or are you overthinking it constantly? Maybe not hiding or having a hard time stepping out there, moving forward, because everything had to be perfect, like in last week's episode, before you can move on. And stay tuned, we have a workshop coming up. Hello, Janet. Hello.
Good morning, Caroline. Yes, you're going to tell our audience about the workshop coming up because we're super, super, super excited about that. It's really exciting for you. But yes, the overthinking is something that is very close to my heart. And I will be very happy to share lots about that today. So yeah, glad to be here.
Yes, just quickly about our workshop. It's happening on Monday, April 8th at 8 p.m. Central European Time, 7 p.m. UK time. That's 2 p.m. New York, and hopefully you can get your time zone from those times. And it's called Reignite Your Spark, and it's just full of joy and fun, and of course heart and soul. So please join us, and we are so looking forward to having this experience with you in a beautiful setting. And I will share the link in the comments about that. And don't overthink, sign up.
That. I like that. Absolutely. It is going to be fun. There's going to be a lot of things we're going to be sharing in it. There's 3 key topics that we will be talking about and working on with you. So please join us. It's a virtual event, so you can join us from anywhere in the world.
Even in your PJs, so you can have your camera off and
Just with us. It'll be
we
fun.
are sharing from our heart and soul and love to inspire you and help you open up to more fun and joy again in your life. So back to the topic of today, it's overthinking. When in your life were you most overthinking, Janet?
You know what? I am an absolute master overthinker. I have spent a lifetime overthinking everything in my life and analyzing and overanalyzing and going through. And it, it, I I know that there's a lot, and particularly a lot of women who are like this because you're dealing with so many different things, and it's like your head is racing and spinning. And I know for a very, very, very long time, and it was ties in with the perfectionism that we talked about last week, because I was like spinning lots of plates. I don't know if you've seen them, like spinning lots of plates, and you don't want to drop anything. So you're like constantly in this alert mode of like, okay, what happened today? So you analyze what happened, the conversations, just like you replay everything and then go, oh, I wish I'd said this, or I wish I'd done that, or whatever. And it's always a little bit putting yourself down because you didn't do certain things. And sometimes those loops can really continue to play so much, and particularly at night when you really need that restorative sleep, healing sleep. And you don't get it because your brain is on this super hyper drive, and you're not only analyzing what happened during the day, it's like past events come up again. And it's also then about worrying, because it is an anxiety thing of like planning for tomorrow and next week and next year. I mean, my mind was like, and I used to think everybody was the same. And then I found out my husband, he goes, what do you mean? He says, I just sometimes don't think anything. And I'm thinking, how do you not think? I mean, my thoughts are just, they're like, I call them crazy monkeys. because they were like just like jabbering away in my head constantly, and particularly at the quiet of night when you really, really want to sleep, and they just would not stop. It was awful. I spent so many nights like up walking around trying to calm them down, and it's taken a lot of work. And NLP, neuro linguistic programming, was really helpful for me because I started with that and started working on the mind and sorting mind issues out first, before getting back down to the wonderful heart and soul. But I needed to quieten my mind to be able to do that. And I think a lot of people are the same, because our world is, there's so much going on, there's so much information all the time, and our brains are just like wired for overload, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy. What about you, Caroline? Are you an overthinker or past overthinker?
I'm getting better at it. And yeah, like you, I laid in bed as, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Or even sometimes now, so, oh, I said this, but I should have said this. And maybe that person took it that way, but I didn't mean it. It's sort of like an awkwardness, and, you know, and, or I shouldn't have given that away, 20 years ago when I moved, or things like these come up. It's sort of like regrets and overthinking, I mean, not making a decision, shall I do this or that? Or, it can be fun things like planning for vacation. Where shall you go? Oh, I don't know, this one is good, but this one or that one. And then you keep thinking and analyzing, and at the end it's summer and you haven't planned anything because you just couldn't make a decision. And this is, I think, yeah, it's sort of also a feeling of not missing out. If as a child you've been asked, you'd rather have vanilla or chocolate ice cream, and of course you love both. So it's hard to make a decision, but coming to the term that, okay, today I have vanilla, next time I can have chocolate. But it's always, as a child, then you have vanilla, but you'd rather have chocolate. You choose chocolate, you'd rather have vanilla. So it's that whole thing of making a decision, sticking with it, and knowing it. Trust life that, yeah, there's another opportunity coming along. And also overthinking with healthy boundaries. That was a big topic. Oh, if I hurt this person, or that person gets mean, or what if they don't like me? All these kind of things were coming up, and yeah, as a mom, you overthink everything. Did they eat enough? Do they sleep? What do they have? And how can I help them? And just, I learned to hand it over to the universe, to the angels, and ask for support and that trust. I think when I'm overthinking, I am not in that trust mode that life is good, life is happening for me. Life is good, I'm guided, better days are ahead of me. And if I'm overthinking, it's Lord, oh, life is happening to me, I have no control. I need to desperately control it. And how can I make it better? And here in the flow, trusting my intuition, feeling guided, happy here on earth, mostly. Here it's like the fear mind overtaking and overthinking, overanalyzing, and oh, but I don't want to go left, maybe right, all these kind of things. I mean, it's good to analyze things, it's good to think about things, but when it comes to be like that overthinking and thinking it over and over and over without being ready to make a decision and just go with your heart. You know, it's sort of, I think it's part of that mind over matter kind of mentality. And when you sort of dislocate from your heart and soul, then you're completely in that, I have to do everything, I have to control it, I have to, you know, and yeah, it can really lead to burnout. I mean, it's like when you have a crazy job and having to have 20 things in your mind. I have to do this, and then I have to check out this, and take a minute, write it all out, make a list, and then you can sort of, I call it like a brain dump, you know, you can sort of putting it all on paper and out there, and then you can say, it's here, I am safe, I don't have to run on the red zone, you know, in overdrive here.
I totally agree with that. If you don't mind, I'm going to mention my Right to Heal book, because there's 3 chapters in there when I talk about sort of the mind stuff, like beliefs and particularly limiting beliefs, how to get past those, because they really do shut us down and stop us from like moving forward. If we go, oh, I can't do that, or it's not for me, or, you know, it's not for people like me or my age or whatever. There's a whole lot of stuff on that. I mean, something that you mentioned as well about the decluttering your mind. So if you have a lot of things coming up, you know, get a notebook, pen, sit down, spend, if it's half an hour or an hour, just like putting things in your schedule, you know, making that list, and then it kind of clears it out of your head, which I love is like a brain dump. And then there's another thing about sort of, you know, also about how your thoughts create your emotions, create your behavior, and how to sort of start looking at that, because that involves about the self-talk. I think it's those chattering crazy monkeys in your head going on. And once you sort of start taking back, as you sort of say, control and becoming empowered with your choices and being, because you're doing it from, not from your head, because so many of us live in our head space, and I did for a very long time. And it's now, whenever you reconnect your heart and soul, you're using your intuitive guidance and you're feeling what is the right choice for you. And as you sort of say, it's like going with the flow. This is the right choice. I don't need to worry about anything else. This is what I'm going with, and I'm accepting it. And I think when you sort of start to take on that responsibility, accountability of that being, you know, that's my choice and I'm going to stick with it, it does actually make it much easier, because you're not going through those what if, because, you know, my brain used to run at tangents. I mean, I'd been a brilliant, Mark, my husband used to say I would be a great risk analysis person, because I would look at everything that could possibly happen, what could go wrong, and have worked through every connotation and have something a little bit in place just in case that happened. But the amount of work my brain had to do all of that and keep that going was like those spinning plates. And I realize now, you know, it was mentally and emotionally draining. Absolutely. Because then you didn't have the capacity or the space to, like I have now, to enjoy the spring flowers when I'm out for a walk. I just relax it. The sea yesterday when it was crazy and wild because it was stormy here. And it's now I've got capacity to enjoy those things and, you know, take those moments and make those memories, those good memories. And that has been a game changer for me. And it is about sort of living. Yes, you need to have, maybe be analytical sometimes, as you say, think about certain things, but you also need to be connected with your heart and soul. And when your mind, body, and soul is all in connection, then it becomes easier. And as you say, it feels like you're more in flow, that you're going with life instead of being the victim and going against the current and everything's against you in life and stuff. You're going more, and if things don't work out, it's not the end of the world. It really isn't. And I think that was also a big learning. But yeah, the crazy monkeys in here, they're now under control. Well, mostly.
Yeah, it's so much about quieting the mind, because only when we quiet those voices, we can find inner peace and inner calm. And so many people are looking for inner peace or inner calm and desperately looking, like, oh, how can I create it? What do I do? And it's just like the opposite of inner peace and inner calm. And like I said, it's a thief of joy, when we are constantly thinking. And it's so important to quiet, calm the mind and our nervous system, because then otherwise we're in a constant stress mode. And stress is really, really bad for our health and well-being. And so quiet the mind, come back into the here and now. And like I say to many of my clients and my children and myself, many ways lead to Rome. That's one saying. And I say sometimes it takes a detour to arrive at the right destination. And just listen to that. Many ways lead to Rome. There's not just one way. And often it takes a detour to arrive at your destination. So trust in life, trust in your choices, and make a decision right now. And if you end up in a cul-de-sac, turn around or find another way. There's only a right decision for now, and tomorrow is another day, and in 2 days or 2 weeks we can make another decision. It's not like then it's fixed in stone and you only have to go that path. So yeah, play with it, be extra gentle with it. Take a deep breath. I think the breath into your belly brings you more down into your inner calm and inner peace, and give your brain a break, a short vacation. For me, it helps to just focus on the breath, maybe counting in, counting out. Then, first of all, that little mind is busy counting and has no space for all the running away thoughts, And meditation, listen to a guided meditation, or putting your hands on your heart space sort of drops me instantly back into my body and calms my mind. And sure, nature.
Nature is actually very good. I mean, I used to find that particularly at night, I mean, they talk here about counting sheep. So that's one way of you sort of start to do that. But I actually find that for me, when I was having trouble switching off my brain, I used to listen to audiobooks, but I would choose somebody who had one of the voices that would just lull you to sleep. And I would find actually you'd be concentrating for a while, and then suddenly you would realize that you were awake the next morning going, I didn't hear any of that book, or I only heard it a short, but it had to be the right voice. And I know that there's apps out there that now do that. There's Calm, there's Headspace, there's a few different ones. So, find what works for you, because it's not like one size fits all. It did take me a lot of practice. And I did learn then a technique about sort of just observing your thoughts, but it took me a while to get to that point, because then it was almost like you were like observing them as stepping away, and they're just clouds floating past. So you just go, oh yeah, that's that one. Oh, let it go. Oh yeah, that's that one, and let it go. And that helped as well. But I couldn't do that from day one. It took a while to get there. So, you have to sort of work. It's a process. And once you start, as Caroline says, you clear that headspace, and then you can start to, start that journey down to where, you're reconnecting with your heart and soul again. And then you feel more complete. And that joy and that spark for life comes back again, because you're a different person. You start to see life in a different way. Your perspective changes and shifts. And even though you might still be a thinker, because that just doesn't go away, but you aren't a hostage to those crazy monkeys in your head. You have them under control to work for you and not against you. So that's how, I've worked with it, is to use techniques, NLP techniques, to as you say, quieten the mind. Meditation I couldn't really do for a long time because I just could not switch off. And some people find that that's, they're not able to do that. But a walk in nature and observe what's around you, just sitting and watching the world go by as well, is that you're sort of outside of yourself and not in your head. So anything that you feel that just shifts you away from the head to what's going on in the world around me, just start to observe. And I think that's a good way to start. And the breath definitely is coming back to that grounding within yourself as well. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, or being more mindful. Sort of one technique I learned is getting back to the senses, What do I sense on my skin? Is it cold? Is it warm? Just be more of an observer and guiding your thoughts, How does it smell? How does it taste? All these kind of things, and focusing on something. When I was cooking, I used to be 10,000 miles away, but then coming back more into the present. How does it smell? How does it taste? And just, mindful stirring with that cooking, and just, guiding your thoughts back to the present. What am I doing? What am I feeling? How, what am I seeing? What am I hearing? And just focusing on these things. And or having a cup of tea and this, how does it smell? How warm is it? How does the cup feel? Just getting back into your sensory. Yes. And focusing on something, like you said, outside. It's spring now. It's just sort of make it a game of what flowers are coming up. Where can I see the greenest grass or something like this? Then you're more focused rather than just out there. And coming back into the present moment. And it takes, if you're really overthinking and that's just your status quo, tiny steps. You won't get from overthinking to completely calm mind in an hour, but acknowledge how far you've come, and acknowledge, what you can do, and just be gentle, compassionate, loving, observing your thoughts, because often we are not aware, because that's sort of like a spin on its own, So, oh, what have I been thinking? Oh, okay. No, I don't want to focus on this one. I want to focus on, I don't know, sunshine or anything. So
yeah, as you mentioned, there's a lot of different hobbies that you can sort of take up that definitely are mindful related, like knitting, crochet, painting, music. So like when you're playing an instrument and reading music, I know that I do that. I'm not very good playing the piano, but I can't think about anything else when I'm in that zone. So, you know, anything that helps you sort of just to take your mind away, to do something else, to give it something to do in the short term when you start to feel that, that also helps. Reading, losing yourself in a good book. You can tell we both love books, so
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, and create your own stories and remember, you know, what you're thinking. You're sending out as wishes. Do you really want to always send out fear and everything? Or would you rather use your gorgeous brain and imagination for good things to come? So, writing out the best stories of your life, or how everything is working out, you know, how easy life is. We can create those stories just by gently swifting them in another direction. So, do you have anything more to share, Janet, on overthinking or recovering overthinking?
Yeah, I think this important thing is to become aware is the first step, and then also, as Caroline said, about being compassionate and gentle as you work through the process, because like for me it wasn't an overnight. It has taken a very long time to get to this stage, and it is worth it. So do bear with it, and it is amazing when you start to become aware of it. You suddenly go, really? Why am I doing this to myself? And then when you start catching yourself doing it, then you kind of can start to take back that control. And it is a journey in itself, but believe me, once you do, you can get a better night's sleep. You can start to let go of so much stuff that really isn't yours and you don't need to worry about it, and start to, you know, move back, as we keep saying, to our heart and soul, which is, you know, that lovely connection that you need to have.
And as always, you know, we've been through it. We can give you sort of a shortcut. Reach out to Janet or myself if you love some support and guidance along, because yeah, sometimes it's harder to do on your own. But if you have someone holding your hand while you do it and encouraging you into the right direction, it's so much easier. And yes, you are worth it. And I just checked, next week's topic will be Earth Angels. Do you feel like an Earth Angel? Let's find out next week. Thank you so much for being here. I'll share the link to Janet's gorgeous book, Right to Heal, and of course to our upcoming workshop. And stay tuned and share with your friends if you felt inspired by this gorgeous episode. Thank you so much.
Love and light, blessings, everyone. Thank you.